Hi guys, Savannah here. Today I'm showing you my recipe for cinnamon rolls. So to start off with, we need 4 cups of all-purpose flour or plain flour. We need a quarter of a cup of white sugar or caster sugar along with a pinch of salt. We need 3/4 of a cup of milk. We need some dry active yeast, some vanilla essence, 1 egg, a quarter of a cup of melted butter and some warm water. Okay, so to begin with, we need to activate our yeast. So just warm water. I just do it from my tap. As long as it's not burning your fingers, it's fine, as long as it's about lukewarm. A quarter of a cup of that. Tip the yeast in. Now one thing I like to do is give the yeast something to feed off. So you just put a teaspoon of white sugar in, give it a bit of a mix. That will take 3 or 4 minutes to activate. You'll know it's activated because you'll start to smell it. It'll kind of become a little bit bubbly and it'll rise just a little bit. Okay, so to begin with, we are putting our caster sugar and a tiny bit of pinch of salt in. We're adding our 1 egg. Our melted butter. Now make sure your butter's not too hot, because if you pour it in it's really hot, it's going to scramble your egg and that's just going to ruin everything. Now, milk. I don't add the whole thing in at once because you can add stuff in, you can't take it out. So if you add too much milk, it's going to be too watery. So I just add a little bit in at a time. So I probably add maybe a quarter cup in first and then slowly add more. Now give it a mix. So our yeast is activated. It's really bubbly. It kind of looks like the top of bread when it's just risen. So we're just pouring all of that in. Make sure you get all of it out. Excellent. Now we're just going to slowly combine everything else. So I'm going to put my vanilla in now. Teaspoon, maybe 2 teaspoons if you like vanilla, but I really like it. So I'm probably putting more like 3 in. Give it a bit of a mix. Then very slowly we're going to be combining in our flour. If you put it in too quickly, you're probably going to get lots and lots of lumps. It's going to become really hard to mix. So just a little bit at a time. Give it a good mix. Doesn't have to be incredible, it just has to be combined. And then when we're done with all of our flour, we are going to turn it out onto the bench and knead it. So we've just added our 3rd cup of flour in. So mix it till it's combined. Now at this point you'll really start to see if you need more milk. Now this dough will be a little bit sticky, but not too much. So if it's really dry, keep adding a bit more in, but try not to add too much or it'll become really sticky. When you touch it with your fingers, it'll stick all over your hands and it'll be a bit of a mess. And I'm definitely going to need more milk. I think my cat wants some love, but he's going to have to wait. I'm just going to incorporate with my hand. So I think my cat's head might pop into the camera at any point now, so be prepared. Oreo, hey, don't come up here. Okay, so I've kneaded my dough. You can see there's still lumps in it, but that's okay because we're just going to knead it on the bench. So just grabbing some more plain flour and flouring our bench, otherwise it's going to stick. Now, plonk it straight down. Now I like to use the heel of my hands, it's easier. Just push and pull, and push and pull. That's really all it is. Now, you should really knead this for 20 minutes. So, we'll come back when I'm finished kneading. Okay, so I've just kneaded my dough for probably 15 minutes, 10 to 15 minutes. So, just going to continue a little bit. I was saying to my mum the other night when I was making these, I said, if there was a texture for happiness, that's what this feels like. It's just, I love the feeling. That's why I like making it by hand rather than in a mixer. So, I think that's done. Now, to make it into a ball, you just kind of pinch the sides in, pull right into the bottom, keep going. You'll see it'll start to get smooth on top. We'll make a bit of a ball. When you think that's nice, pinch the bottom, make a bit of like a seam, And look at that. Perfect. So we have to let this rise. I like it straight back in the bowl that I mixed it in. You need to put a little bit of oil in. I just use a pastry brush. Brush it around. Okay. Seam side down. Then a little bit of oil on the top. If you don't put oil on the top, the top dries out and makes a bit of a crust, and when you go to knead that out to roll it, it kind of starts cracking and you get really stiff bits of dough when you bake your cinnamon rolls, and well, no one wants that. So just a bit of oil, not too much. Pastry brush all around, make sure it's covered nicely. Cling wrap over the top. Okay, I like to put a tea towel on top. Keeps it, I think, a little bit warmer. So, working with yeast, you need to let it rise. So, averagely, it would take you somewhere between 1 and 3 hours. It needs to double in size. So, the warmer it is, the temperature, the less time you need, the cooler it is, the longer you need. So, obviously, being the middle of winter, probably going to leave mine for an hour and a half to 2 hours. So, it needs to be in a draft-free, warm spot. I like to put it in my microwave, turned off, obviously. And you just leave it. Okay. So I've let my dough rise for just over an hour and a half, and I don't know if you can see, but it has doubled in size and it's nice and soft. So first we've got to make our filling for our cinnamon buns. So in here I've got 3/4 of a cup of brown sugar, 1/4 of a cup of white sugar, and I've got about 2 tablespoons of ground cinnamon. In here I have 1/3 of a cup of melted butter. We're just going to combine all of it until it makes a bit of a paste, really. Just until it's well combined. Okay, done with that. Now, make sure we've got a clean workspace, especially when we're using it to roll out our dough. Now, flour again, just so it doesn't stick. Be quite liberal with your flour, it's not going to ruin your dough or anything. Okay, now just turn it out. Look how much bigger that is. Make sure you do put quite a bit on the bottom because it will be a little bit oily. Give it a good knead and it will get there. Okay, time to roll out our dough. We want it in a long rectangular shape. This takes time because the dough will stretch back a little bit, but give it a good roll and it'll stay exactly where you want it. Okay, so as you can see, I stretched my dough out. It's a long rectangle, very even. Now, if you just run your hands over, you can kind of feel if there are any thick bits. You want it quite even, otherwise it's going to bake unevenly. Anyway, so I've got my sugar mixture. Now, you just need to spread it out all over. Okay. Now, since it's cold, mine's kind of getting a little bit hard, so I'm just going to spread it with my fingers. We have our cinnamon bun ready to assemble. So carefully from long side, we're just rolling. Just a little bit. Now, we don't have to make it too tight. For the first one, maybe just do a little fold. I find that easier, otherwise it kind of unravels by the time you get to one side, the other end's gone. And so I kind of fold the first one down a little bit, pat it down so it stays. Then kind of just gets a bit easier. And just roll all the way to the other side. Look at that. Perfect. Okay, so I find it best to use a serrated knife to cut this, otherwise it kind of squishes it and it gets in funny shapes. So just going to cut off the ends, because I really don't have a lot in them, so won't be very good. Now, This log should make about 16. So I think the easiest way to kind of get them in even little rolls is to cut in half, 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 half. So half. Okay, now I cut each half into half. Go. And again, 2 more times. So half. And there we go. So now I've got my deep-sided pan, got a bit of butter in it. I'm just going to butter the bottom and sides of my dish. This will just stop it from sticking when I cook it, but I prefer to use butter because I sometimes find that if I use oil, if I put a little bit too much, it kind of makes them a little bit soggy. So I think butter's nice. It also adds a little bit of flavour. So, okay, now, simple, lay them in. I like to lie them flat side down. Now, if yours is coming apart a little bit, like this, that's okay. You can just give it a little pinch, but you don't have to. They will be stacked in together, so. Now, make sure you do give them a little bit of room. Don't squeeze them in next to each other, otherwise they're not going to have any room to expand. So, give them a little bit of room in between. Not too much, they're not going to get huge. I mean, by the time you let them rise for the second time, they will maybe just double in size, but I mean, it's not particularly warm right now. So the warmer it is, the better they rise, but they're just looking to, get a little bit bigger. So this pan, as you can see, is a bit big, but it doesn't matter. So, have them all stacked nicely. Now, I need to cover them again. Oh, here's my map. So, need to rise for a second time. This one will take anywhere from half an hour to an hour. Now, because it's cold, I'm probably going to leave mine for 45 minutes to an hour just because it's cold. It needs to be warm to rise. So, my tea towel helps keep it warm. Kind of puts a bit of weight on as well so air can't get in. So it needs to be in a draft-free place, in a warm place won't fit in there. So if I can't put it in my microwave, which, I mean, this is a bit big, I will often put it in a drawer like this, except I might put it in my oven. I haven't preheated it yet, so my oven is just cool, but the door seals nicely, and that means obviously no wind will come in, no draft, nothing else is in there, so it's a little bit warm, and it will just let it rise nicely. So I will see you back in about 45 minutes, and you can see how they've risen. Okay, so as you can see, my cinnamon rolls have risen nicely. Now, they didn't rise a lot, but they have covered the tray nicely. There aren't any big gaps anymore. So, with the 2 leftover ends that I chopped off, I've just kind of rolled them out, spun them into a bit of a rope, and lay them flat. So, no point in wasting a little bit of extra dough. Okay, so here I have an egg wash. In my egg wash, I just have 1 egg and a little bit of water whisked together nicely. You can put milk in it, you could put cream in it. I'm just putting some water. So I've got a pastry brush. I'm just going to give them a nice brush. Okay, so everything's coated nicely. I'm popping this into my oven. I preheated it to 200 degrees. I'm putting it in for anywhere really from 20 minutes to about half an hour, or until golden brown. Okay, so we're about to prepare our glaze to drizzle all over the top. So in here I have 1/4 cup of melted butter along with 2 to 3 tablespoons of milk. In here I have 1 1/4 cups of confectioner's sugar or icing sugar. In here I have 1/4 cup of cream cheese. I put it in the microwave a little bit just to soften it. and some vanilla. So we're just putting it all together and whisking until smooth. Don't want any lumps in this. I'm just going to put in my vanilla. So again, if you want a measurement, I'd say 1 to 2 teaspoons. I like a lot because I love the flavour. Now, the purer the vanilla, the better the flavour. So, I mean, I've only got vanilla essence here. Vanilla extract's better. Vanilla paste is better than that. And then, of course, a vanilla bean is just, you know, the best. But vanilla beans really aren't very easy to find unless you can order them online. That's usually probably the best place to get them. And it's kind of nice that we've got some, you know, all different sizes. It kind of looks a bit more homemade rather than store-bought. So just drizzle that creamy goodness all over. Get all of that out. I don't want any left in the bowl. These are just so good. I'm going to go for this one. So let's see if I can get it without messing up all the other ones. Now, I love when you cut into it, you can see all of the layers of cinnamon. I don't know if you can see, it's kind of hard, but all through there. And I kind of like to pull it apart a little bit. They're so good. Really easy to make, but incredible. So, I'll see you next time.